The latest rumor racing through the Eastern Sea region carries 3 pieces of news. Chu Feng has returned. 3 women tied to his past have vanished within the true Immortalization Road, and the Blood Qilins are marching upon Misty Peak. While Chu Feng searches the ancient road for Ya Fei, Ruyu, and Murong Wan, Huangfu Haoyue has reached what everyone believes to be the martial emperor realm, and secretly resolves to keep the coming war from Chu Feng. But before that secret can be carried out, the enemy's entire army surrounds Misty Peak. Well, look who the mountain winds have blown back into our little storytelling house! The tea kettle has been complaining that you daoists vanished, without paying attention to the last cliffhanger. So I've promised it, everyone would return before the leaves went cold. Shake the dust from your robes, guard your wine carefully from the fellow beside you, and come here. What trouble the jianghu has dragged to our doorstep this time? Zhu and the others had originally intended to bring Chu Feng somewhere quiet to rest before spreading word of his return. After all, the Misty Peak was passing through an unusually sensitive period, and even joyous news had to be handled with care. But Wu had never been known for patience. The moment Chu Feng appeared before her again, restraint vanished like mist beneath the morning sun. She seized his arm and hurried straight toward the place where Lady Haoyue was resting. That destination was no ordinary chamber. It was a forbidden area of the Misty Peak, and under normal circumstances, even the 4 Seasons sisters were forbidden from entering as they pleased. With the Misty Peak facing a special situation, the rules were stricter than ever.
Miss Chun Wu, Lady Haoyue, Zhu.
The 2 elders stationed outside instinctively moved to stop the group, yet Chun Wu did not even slow her steps.
Don't stop me. I have an important matter that I must see Master for.
She charged inside without hesitation. Normally, those elders would never have permitted such a breach of the rules. This time, however, neither man made another move. It was not because they had suddenly forgotten their duty. Their eyes had simply fallen upon the young man, following behind Chun Wu, and in that instant, both elders froze where they stood.
That man, is he Lord Chu Feng?
It's Chu Feng. Lord Chu Feng has returned.
The second elder nodded again and again, his aged body trembling with excitement. For people of the Eastern Sea region, Chu Feng was no longer merely an old acquaintance returning home. His name carried memories of impossible battles, upheavals, and miracles. To see him standing before them alive was enough to shake the composure of veteran cultivators. Yet among everyone present, Chun Wu remained the most uncontrollably excited. The instant she entered the palace hall, her voice rang through the chambers, without the slightest concern for decorum.
Master! Quickly, come see who has returned.
Led deeper inside by Chun Wu and the others, Chu Feng soon arrived at a side palace hall. 3 familiar figures were gathered there. Lady Haoyue, Taiku, and their daughter, Fuyan, who was now the master of the Misty Peak.
Chun Wu, what are you making such a fuss about furthermore? Didn't I tell you all many times that unless something serious happened, you were not to come here?
Lady Haoyue was clearly displeased. She turned with the intention of reprimanding them, but the instant her gaze passed Chun Wu and landed upon the figure behind her, the words died in her throat. The displeasure on her face froze. Then, like winter ice cracking beneath the first warmth of spring, that expression transformed into astonished joy. She rose abruptly from her seat.
Chu Feng.
Chu Feng.
At the sound of that name, Taiku and Fuyan both turned. The moment they confirmed the face before them, they stood almost simultaneously and began walking toward him, as though some invisible thread of old memories had pulled them from their seats.
Chu Feng pays his respects to Lady Haoyue, Senior Taiku, and Big Sister Fuyan.
Chu Feng clasped his fist and bowed respectfully. These 3 had all extended helping hands to him when he was far weaker than he was today. They were not names to be discarded after he climbed higher on the martial path. They were benefactors, seniors, and people whose kindness had been carved into his memory. That simple bow revealed something more important than cultivation. Chu Feng's strength had changed beyond recognition, but his treatment of those who once helped him had not. In a world where power often rewrote relationships overnight, remembering an old kindness after reaching the heavens was its own kind of strength.
Heavens! Exclamation, Chu Feng. It's really you! Exclamation. You've really returned.
The three could no longer contain their happiness. Smiles spread across their faces, but Lady Pio Miao's reaction was the most striking. This woman, once renowned for remaining composed through storms that could shake the Eastern Sea region, felt her eyes redden with emotion.
Chu Feng, quickly, get back up. Get back up. It's great that you've returned. It's great that you've returned.
Her hand trembled as she helped him upright, and at last tears slipped down her face. They were not tears of sorrow, but of years of longing suddenly released. Lady Pio Miao had always appeared cold and distant before most people. In the Eastern Sea region, she had once been a towering figure, someone capable of commanding tremendous influence. Yet Chu Feng had always occupied a different place in her heart. When Chu Feng first entered the Eastern Sea region, the responsibilities upon his shoulders were already immense, while his cultivation remained comparatively weak. Lady Pio Miao had watched him struggle, survive, and rise step by step. Somewhere along that road, her concern for him had grown into something close to that of a mother for a son.
Mother, aren't you being a little biased, Edwin? I returned from my distant journey. You didn't cry for me.
Shui Fuyan deliberately feigned jealousy, her smile easing the heavy emotion in the hall.
I've grown old and disappointing.
Lady Pio Miao hurriedly wiped away her tears, visibly embarrassed. Her cultivation might have been gone, but the pride and bearing of the great figure she once was still remained. Being caught crying openly before everyone naturally left her somewhat uncomfortable.
That's right. Don't cry. Little friend Chu Feng's return is an enormously joyous event. We should be celebrating. Wait here. I'll go tell everyone the good news. Chu Feng, it just so happens that your master and the people from the crippling night demon sect are all here at our Misty Peak. They will definitely be extremely happy when they learn that you've returned.
Teiku's smile deepened until the wrinkles across his face bunched together. Without wasting another moment, he hurried from the hall to spread the news.
I'll go help spread the news too.
Me too.
The Four Seasons sisters followed Teiku out. The news of Chu Feng's return began spreading through the Misty Peak, like a spark racing across dry grass. Before long, a thunderous voice exploded from outside the palace hall.
Teiku! Exclamation. If you dared to deceive this old man will definitely not let you get away with it.
A violent gust swept into the chamber. Riding that rushing wind, a figure descended into the side hall with startling speed. The newcomer had been so desperate to confirm the news that he had actually used a movement martial skill, merely to reach Chu Feng faster. Before the man even appeared, Chu Feng already knew his identity. A rank 6 martial king was still in existence few in the Eastern Sea region could rival, and paired with that unmistakably domineering voice, there could be only one answer. It was Chu Feng's master, Chu Feng.
Heavens! Exclamation. Chu Feng, you.
The imposing elder who had stormed into the hall moments earlier suddenly struggled to form a complete sentence. Chu Feng had suspected Teiku might be playing some cruel trick on him. Yet even with that suspicion, he had still rushed here at full speed. That alone showed how important Chu Feng was to him. Chu Feng had been willing to risk disappointment because the slightest possibility that his disciple had returned was too precious to ignore. For a master who had spent years separated from his disciple, hope itself was enough reason to run. And this time, hope had not deceived him. Chu Feng truly stood before him.
Boy, you've really returned.
After finally regaining enough composure to speak, Chu Feng strode forward and gripped Chu Feng by the shoulders. Through those hands, Chu Feng could feel everything Qiu Feng did not know how to put into words: excitement, disbelief, and the weight of long separation. Qiu Feng had spent many years trapped within the emperor's tomb, so compared with some of Chu Feng's other senior, the time master and disciple had actually spent together was limited, but that had never diminished the place Qiu Feng held in Chu Feng's heart. Just like Zhuge Liang, Qiu Feng would forever remain one of Chu Feng's masters. Then, without warning, Chu Feng stepped backward. Before anyone could react, he lowered himself onto one knee and bowed before Qiu Feng.
Master, please accept disciples' respect.
Had the great figures of the Holy Land of martialism witnessed this scene, many would likely have been stunned speechless. Qiu Feng was a rank 6 martial king. In the Eastern Sea region, that cultivation placed him among the land's peak experts. But when measured against the vast Holy Land of martialism, such strength was insignificant. Chu Feng, meanwhile, had already become a rank 4 martial emperor. In the Holy Land of martialism, countless renowned figures and martial emperor-level experts would greet him carefully, lower their posture, and seek his favor. His strength and status had risen to a level that the people of the Eastern Sea region could scarcely imagine. And that contrast is precisely what gives this moment its weight. In cultivation, realm determines power, and power often determines status. Yet Chu Feng refuses to let his present realm erase the hierarchy of gratitude in his heart. Before the world, he may be a rank 4 martial emperor. Before Qiu Feng, he is still the disciple who remembers who once guided him. If warriors from the Holy Land of martialism had seen a rank 4 martial emperor kneeling before a rank 6 martial king, they would undoubtedly have wondered what kind of extraordinary person could command such respect from Chu Feng. But Lady Pio Miao, Shui Fuyan, and the others possessed no understanding of just how terrifying Chu Feng's current cultivation had become, nor did they know how exceptional his status in the Holy Land of martialism now was. So to them, there was nothing strange about the scene at all. A disciple had returned from a distant journey and was paying respect to his master. That was only proper. Instead of shock, smiles appeared on their faces. There is something almost poetic about that ignorance. The people welcoming Chu Feng home do not yet realize just how far he has climbed beyond the horizon they know. To them, he is still the young cultivator who once struggled through the Eastern Sea region, and perhaps that is exactly why this reunion feels so genuine. For one rare moment, Chu Feng is not a feared martial emperor or a towering figure of the Holy Land. He is simply Chu Feng, returned to the people who remembered him before the world learned to fear his name. The moment Chu Feng knelt before his master, Qiu Feng moved almost at once. The old protector reached down and pulled him to his feet, as though he could not bear to see his disciple remain on his knees for even another heartbeat.
Quickly, get up. Let your master have a proper look at you.
A trace of pain crossed Qiu Feng's weathered face. He studied Chu Feng from head to toe, and although no tears fell, the old man's eyes had already turned red. This was Qiu Feng, one of the 4 great protectors of the crippling night demon sect, and its current acting sect master. Countless people feared his name, yet the sight of his disciple returning alive was enough to shake the emotions of this iron-willed expert. For someone of Qiu Feng's status, such emotion carried more weight than any grand declaration. Chu Feng was not merely a talented disciple to him. He was someone whose safety could pierce through decades of martial composure and touch the old man's heart directly. Just then, Teiku hurried back, his voice immediately breaking through the heavy atmosphere.
Look, old Q. I didn't deceive you, did I?
Teiku, I will certainly give you the benefit, I promise. But right now, I must first reminisce with my disciple.
Even as he spoke, Chu Feng continued holding Chu Feng's hand, unwilling to release it. Qiushui Fuyan watched the scene with a smile, before stepping in to keep the reunion from becoming too sentimental.
Enough, Senior Chu Feng. There is no need to keep stirring everyone's emotions. Chu Feng went through great difficulty to return. We should be celebrating instead.
Teiku immediately seized upon the suggestion.
Right, exclamation, men exclamation, pass down my order. Prepare a grand banquet to celebrate Chu Feng's return.
Because of Teiku's relationship with Lady Haoyue, his standing within the Misty Peak was extraordinarily high. Very few people there would dare disregard an order from him.
Senior Teiku, there's no need to make it too extravagant. Just invite the familiar faces.
Chu Feng had attended more celebratory banquets over the years than he cared to remember. Fame, victories, powerful guests, elaborate feasts, none of those things interested him now. What he wanted was far simpler, a quiet chance to sit beside the people he had truly missed. That small request revealed how much Chu Feng had changed. After crossing far greater worlds and standing among incomparably stronger cultivators, grandeur itself had lost its novelty. The people who remembered him before those achievements had become far more precious than ceremony.
Rest assured, every person, there will be someone you know. Anyone unfamiliar to you will not be allowed inside.
With that, Teiku left personally to oversee the preparations. Qiushui Fuyan followed him. For two people of their status to handle even a banquet themselves made their feelings toward Chu Feng unmistakably clear. Before Chu Feng could follow, Lady Haoyue remembered something important.
Chu Feng, there is something I must tell you. Your family, the people of the Azure Dragon School, and those from the Jiang royal dynasty, have all returned to the 9 provinces continent.
Why did they leave?
They said the 9 provinces continent was their home, and that if they never returned, they would feel they had failed their ancestors. But from the way I see it, they probably feared that remaining here would inconvenience us, so they found a reason to leave. Still, you need not worry. We have remained in contact with them the entire time. Everything has been well in the 9 provinces continent.
Her final words were deliberately reassuring. She clearly knew that no matter how powerful Chu Feng became, news involving his family would always reach the deepest place in his heart.
It's fine. I have to return to the 9 provinces continent anyway. When I arrive there, I can meet them myself.
Knowing that those closest to him were safe finally allowed Chu Feng to relax. Soon afterward, the banquet was ready, and every familiar person from the Misty Peak and the crippling night demon sect who could attend gathered together. Zhu Ziyu, first immortal Xianxia, and one familiar face after another entered Chu Feng's sight. Yet what struck him most was not who had come, but how they treated him. They were delighted that he had returned, but unlike many people Chu Feng had encountered in the holy land of martialism, not one of them became distant simply because his cultivation had soared. There was no excessive reverence, no cautious attempt to flatter him, and no invisible wall created by the difference in strength. They greeted him warmly, naturally, almost noisily. To them, Chu Feng was still Chu Feng. And perhaps that was the rarest treasure Chu Feng brought home from this journey. Not some divine weapon or secret martial skill, but proof that genuine bonds could survive the terrifying distance created by cultivation. In a world where strength constantly rearranged status, these people still treated him like family. Questions soon came from every direction. Had Chu Feng truly reached the legendary Holy Land of martialism? What kind of world was it had he found Zai Ling and the others, who had departed for that same distant land not long after him? The questions sounded curious, but Chu Feng understood the emotion beneath them. They were not simply hungry for stories about a legendary land. They wanted reassurance. They wanted to know whether the young man they had watched leave the Eastern Sea region had survived and lived well. Chu Feng answered them patiently, one question after another, yet he never used the opportunity to boast about his accomplishments. He spoke mainly about the holy land of martialism itself, explaining that vast world to people who had never witnessed it. That restraint mattered. Chu Feng had achieved things that could have left this entire gathering speechless, yet displaying those accomplishments would only have widened the distance between himself and the people around him. By keeping his own glory in the background, he protected the simple warmth of the reunion. When Chu Feng finally confirmed that his disciple had truly entered the holy land of martialism and returned safely, pride filled the old protector's face.
As expected of my disciple! You actually succeeded in entering the holy land of martialism. Come! Your master will toast you with a cup of wine.
He spoke of a cup, yet what appeared in his hand was an entire jug. Years had passed, but Chu Feng's bold temperament remained exactly as Chu Feng remembered it.
Master, this disciple shall offer you a toast as well.
Chu Feng immediately set aside his wine cup and lifted a jug of his own. Rising to his feet, he drained it in a single breath. A roar of approval erupted around the banquet. Laughter and applause filled the hall, and for that brief stretch of time, burden seemed to disappear from every face. These were smiles born not from victory, status, or treasure, but from reunion. Yet amid that celebration, Chu Feng suddenly noticed the absence of one important person.
Big Sister Fuyan, why haven't I seen Senior Huangfu Haoyue?
Huangfu Haoyue held a unique place in Chu Feng's memories. He was not simply a powerful senior from the Eastern Sea region. In a very real sense, he had helped determine the road Chu Feng's entire life would follow. Long ago, it had been Huangfu Haoyue who carried Chu Feng out of the heavenly road and brought him to the 9 provinces continent. Without that act, Chu Feng might never have entered the Chu family, and the countless events that followed could have unfolded entirely differently. Cultivation stories often turn on spectacular battles, but Chu Feng's reflection revealed another truth. Sometimes destiny changes, because one person carried someone through a doorway at the right moment. Huangfu Haoyue's importance to Chu Feng could never be measured purely by cultivation. Before Chu Feng departed the Eastern Sea region, Huangfu Haoyue had married Qishui Fuyan and should have been residing at the Misty Peak. His absence from such an important reunion naturally puzzled Chu Feng.
Haoyue is currently in closed-door training, but judging by the time, he should emerge soon.
Closed-door training again, Senior. Haoyue really is diligent. Big Sister Fuyan, what is his cultivation now?
Chu Feng's curiosity was genuine. Back then, Huangfu Haoyue had been acknowledged as the foremost genius of the Eastern Sea region. Although Chu Feng had eventually surpassed and defeated him, that did nothing to diminish Huangfu Haoyue's extraordinary talent among the cultivators of that land. Chu Feng laughed before answering in Qishui Fuyan's place.
Speaking of Huangfu Haoyue, he truly is extraordinary. He became a rank 9 martial king long ago. Right now, he is attempting to break through into the martial emperor realm. If he succeeds, he will no longer be a martial king. He will become a martial emperor.
Senior Huangfu Haoyue truly is amazing.
Chu Feng's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. He was sincerely happy for Huangfu Haoyue, but he also immediately recognized the mistake hidden within Chu Feng's words. Beyond the martial king realm did not lie the martial emperor realm directly. Between them stood another vast cultivation stage, the half-martial emperor realm. This was more than a simple misunderstanding of terminology. It exposed the enormous gap between the Eastern Sea region and the holy land of martialism. When an entire region had gone so many years without producing even a half-martial emperor, knowledge of the higher cultivation path had itself become incomplete. Their ceiling was not merely a lack of strength, it was also a lack of information. The others continued smiling, delighted by the thought that Huangfu Haoyue might soon enter what they believed to be the martial emperor realm. Chu Feng could have corrected them immediately, but he chose silence. This was a reunion, not a lecture. Correcting them at that moment would only reveal how limited the Eastern Sea region's understanding truly was, and risk casting a shadow over their happiness. And that quiet decision may be the most telling moment of the banquet. Chu Feng had returned, carrying knowledge of a far greater world. Yet instead of flaunting that advantage, he allowed his old companions to enjoy their joy a little longer. Still, Huangfu Haoyue's breakthrough now carries a fascinating question. When the Eastern Sea region finally touches a realm it barely understands, how much will its view of the martial path be forced to change? The banquet within Misty Peak was still filled with warmth. Cups clinked, old companions exchanged smiles, and after so many storms, the gathering seemed almost peaceful. Yet beneath that peaceful surface, a single casual remark quietly tested the depth of Chu Feng's present strength.
It is truly amazing. If Huangfu Haoyue manages to break through, I fear that even you, Chu Feng, might not be his match.
The words sounded like praise for Huangfu Haoyue, but their hidden purpose was obvious. The speaker was indirectly probing Chu Feng, hoping to learn just how powerful this young man had become after leaving the Eastern Sea region. Chu Feng merely smiled. He had no desire to boast, much less announce that even if Huangfu Haoyue successfully entered the martial emperor realm, the difference between them would still be enormous.
I naturally cannot compare with Senior Huangfu Haoyue.
This answer revealed more about Chu Feng than any declaration of strength could have. He had already traveled far beyond the level of those gathered here, yet he deliberately lowered himself, rather than turn a reunion into a contest of cultivation. That restraint was itself evidence of how much the once impulsive youth had changed. Teiku immediately sensed that the conversation was drifting toward dangerous territory. With the atmosphere so pleasant, there was no reason to let comparisons of power poison the table.
Alas, Chu Feng, you are still young. Your road ahead is long. There is no need to rush. In the future, this world will belong to your generation. That's right. Come, let us drink.
The others followed at once. Cups were raised, laughter returned, and the uncomfortable subject was swept aside beneath the fragrance of wine. But Chu Feng's attention soon shifted toward an elderly figure seated near the edge of the banquet, the first immortal.
Senior First Immortal, where is Ya Fei?
The first immortal was Ya Fei's grandfather. In the past, he had been one of the supreme experts of the Immortal Execution Archipelago. Yet because of his granddaughter, he ultimately left that power and joined Misty Peak. That decision had unexpectedly saved his life. When catastrophe descended upon the Immortal Execution Archipelago, and its experts were wiped out, the first immortal escaped the calamity because he had already become part of Misty Peak. For Chu Feng, however, another matter had remained lodged in his heart for years. Ya Fei still lacked a true physical body. Though Chu Feng had not personally destroyed her body, the events leading to that fate were connected to him. Before leaving the Eastern Sea region, he had promised the first immortal that one day he would find a way to restore Ya Fei. Now, after all his growth, that promise was no longer difficult to fulfill. With Chu Feng's present world spirit techniques, rebuilding a body for Ya Fei would be a simple matter. He wanted to do it immediately, not only to grant the first immortal his long-cherished wish, but also to loosen one of the knots buried deepest within his own heart. Chu Feng remembered the person he had once been, young, reckless, and far too willing to act on impulse. Some of those choices had deeply wronged others, and time had not erased the weight of that responsibility. Ya Fei was not the only one. There were also Murong Wan and Ruyu. None of the three were his lovers, yet Chu Feng's past actions had crossed boundaries and caused them harm. He could no longer dismiss that past simply because many years had passed. Chu Feng's thinking here was important. Strength could crush enemies, treasures could repair damaged bodies, and world spirit techniques could overturn what once seemed impossible. But none of those things automatically erased responsibility. He understood that making amends depended not on what he wanted, but on what the women themselves were willing to accept. If they wished to accept him into their lives, Chu Feng was prepared to take responsibility. If they did not, he would respect that choice and still do everything within his power to compensate for the harm he had caused. At Chu Feng's question, however, the first immortal did not answer immediately. The old man slowly rose from his seat. His expression trembled, and before the words could fully leave his mouth, emotion choked his voice.
Little friend, Chu Feng, thank you for still remembering Ya Fei. Merely, Ya Fei. She.
Chu Feng's gaze immediately swept across the banquet. One person after another lowered their heads. No one met his eyes. The laughter from moments earlier had vanished completely, replaced by a silence far more ominous than any shouted warning.
Big Sister Fuyan, where is Ya Fei?
By then, Chu Feng already knew. Something had happened, and everyone present knew exactly what it was.
Chu Feng, you must remain calm.
I am very calm. Please tell me what happened to Ya Fei.
His voice remained controlled, but the reactions around him had already revealed the severity of the situation. Qiushui Fuyan drew a deep breath, forcing herself to organize the memories before speaking.
Very well. 1 year ago, a gate suddenly appeared within Misty Peak. We are certain that what lay beyond it was Misty Peak's most mysterious place, the true Immortalization Road.
Immortalization Road. Hadn't Misty Peak's Immortalization Road already been discovered?
Chu Feng knew many of Misty Peak's secrets. Among them, the Immortalization Road had always been the most mysterious and revered. Ancient records claimed that one who entered that road could become an immortal. Whether those words were literal or merely legend, the meaning was clear. The Immortalization Road represented the deepest core and greatest treasure of Misty Peak. If the previous location had only been mistaken for the Immortalization Road, then this newly appeared gate changed everything. A hidden inheritance of the ancient era, sealed even from generations of Misty Peak cultivators, could contain opportunities far beyond the Eastern Sea region's normal understanding. But treasures of that level almost never existed without equally terrifying danger.
No, the place we knew before was never confirmed. We only assumed that it was the Immortalization Road. But the gate that appeared 1 year ago had the words Immortalization Road clearly written upon it. More importantly, it released an extremely dense aura of the ancient era. We have no doubt that this one is genuine.
Then what happened?
When the true Immortalization Road appeared, everyone was overjoyed. After opening the gate, our excitement only grew. We could not reach its end, but even the regions we were able to explore brought enormous benefits. The Immortalization Road was truly a sacred land for cultivation. It was precisely because of that place that Huangfu advanced to rank 9 martial king so quickly, and gained the qualifications to attempt a breakthrough into the martial emperor realm.
The earlier conversation about Huangfu Haoyue suddenly took on an entirely different meaning. His astonishing cultivation progress had not come from nowhere. The Immortalization Road had accelerated his rise. Then Qiushui Fuyan's expression darkened.
But half a year ago, an accident occurred. Ya Fei, Ruyu, and Murong Wan disappeared while cultivating inside the Immortalization Road. We searched everywhere we could reach, but we found no trace of them.
For an instant, Chu Feng felt as though something had clenched around his heart. Not only Ya Fei, Yan Ruyu and Murong Wan had disappeared as well. Until that moment, Chu Feng had assumed the two women simply were not present at Misty Peak. Never had he imagined that all three had vanished together, inside the same mysterious ancient domain. The revelation struck precisely where Chu Feng was most vulnerable. These were the three people toward whom he carried the greatest unresolved guilt, the very three people he had returned hoping to compensate. That coincidence made the disappearance far more painful than an ordinary tragedy. Chu Feng had finally gained the strength to correct some of the consequences of his youth, only to discover that the people he wished to help were suddenly beyond his reach. In the martial world, becoming powerful does not mean becoming omnipotent. Sometimes strength arrives only after the opportunity to use it has already begun slipping away.
Why would they suddenly disappear at their dangers inside the immortalization?
Chu Feng forced emotion aside and immediately focused on the facts. If there was even the smallest possibility that they remained alive, then understanding the Immortalization Road came first.
Because we could not find them, we can only call it a disappearance. The region where we allowed them to cultivate contained no obvious danger. However, the deeper portions of the Immortalization Road, the places even we cannot properly explore, are extremely dangerous. We believe it is possible that the three of them decided to venture deeper and encountered an accident there.
But Ya Fei possesses only a spirit body. Why was she allowed to cultivate there as well?
Although we could not reconstruct her physical body, through our efforts, we managed to stabilize her spirit body enough that she could live much like an ordinary person. Furthermore, the Immortalization Road contains a special power. That power was able to soothe and support her spirit body, so cultivating there was actually beneficial to her.
So that was the reason.
Chu Feng understood. No one had recklessly thrown Ya Fei into danger. From everything Misty Peak knew at the time, the Immortalization Road had actually been a rare opportunity for her. But understanding the reasoning did nothing to lessen the urgency burning inside him.
Big Sister Fuyan, where is the Immortalization Road? Can its entrance still be open?
Qiushui Fuyan immediately understood what he intended.
It can still be opened. But Chu Feng, we have already searched every region that we are capable of searching. The places beyond our reach are truly too dangerous. I have entered the Immortalization Road many times. I know how terrifying those depths can be. And half a year has already passed. I fear that they may already.
She could not bring herself to finish. From Qiushui Fuyan's perspective, stopping Chu Feng was reasonable. The known regions had already been searched repeatedly, while the unexplored depths were dangerous even to Misty Peak's strongest experts. Half a year without a trace normally meant that hope had grown painfully thin. But Chu Feng was no longer bound by the limits that had stopped them. His cultivation and world spirit techniques had reached an entirely different level. Chu Feng looked directly at Qiushui Fuyan. There was no arrogance in his expression now, no pride in his strength, only determination and an unmistakable plea.
Big Sister Fuyan, please help me. The three of them are extremely important to me. Now that something has happened to them, I cannot simply stand here and do nothing.
And this is where Chu Feng's return to the Eastern Sea region ceased to be merely a reunion. The mysterious Immortalization Road had swallowed three people tied to one of the heaviest burdens of his past. Whether they were alive, trapped, or facing something hidden in the ancient era's depths, Chu Feng had already made his choice. For him, not knowing was no longer an excuse to remain outside the gate. Qiushui Fuyan found herself trapped between worry and helplessness. Few people understood Chu Feng's temperament as well as she did. Once he made a decision, danger itself was rarely enough to make him retreat. And because she knew exactly how stubborn he could be, she feared that this time he might walk willingly into a place from which even powerful cultivators could not safely return. Yet that same understanding told Qiushui Fuyan something else trying to stop him would accomplish nothing. Chu Feng had already chosen his path.
Follow me.
She turned and led the way. Chu Feng followed without hesitation, while everyone else present rose and silently trailed behind them. Before long, the group arrived at the mysterious place, known as the Immortalization Road. At first glance, its entrance resembled nothing more than an ancient gate carved from stone, but appearances were deceptive. The entire structure had actually been created through an extraordinarily profound spirit technique, and from beyond that seemingly ordinary gateway flowed an aura dense with the breath of the ancient era. The instant Chu Feng laid eyes upon it, his brows drew together. Years had passed since he first stepped onto the road of cultivation. His strength had risen by terrifying leaps. He was now a martial emperor-level expert, a dragon-mark royal cloak world spiritist, and a figure capable of shaking the holy land of martialism. Yet standing before this single spirit formation gate, Chu Feng felt something he rarely experienced anymore. He felt small. That reaction alone revealed how terrifying the creator of the Immortalization Road must have been. Chu Feng had already reached a level where ordinary formations could hardly inspire awe in him. Yet this ancient gateway overwhelmed even his perception. The difference was not merely one of strength, it hinted at an entire realm of spirit techniques, beyond what the present age commonly understood.
Chu Feng, let me accompany you inside.
There's no need. I go alone. Everyone, do not follow me.
Without giving anyone a chance to argue, Chu Feng stepped onto the Immortalization Road. The expressions of those left behind stiffened. Every one of them worried for him. Several clearly wished to follow, yet none wanted to disregard Chu Feng's explicit command. For a moment, uncertainty hung over the group.
Ya Fei and the others had a special relationship with Chu Feng. There was once a knot in his heart that perhaps only they could untie. But now that they have disappeared, that knot can only be faced by Chu Feng himself. Perhaps it truly is better for him to enter alone.
But the depths of the Immortalization Road.
Her unfinished words carried everything the others were thinking. They knew too well that opportunity and death often walked side by side in ancient inheritances.
Have all of you forgotten, little friend? Chu Feng's tale many years have passed. Every one of us has improved. How could he possibly have remained where he was? It may even be possible that little friend Chu Feng has already become a martial emperor.
I can believe that Chu Feng has reached rank 9 martial king, but martial emperor that seems far too difficult. Even Huangfu Haoyue said that breaking through to martial emperor was extraordinarily difficult. Without the treasures he discovered on the Immortalization Road, he would not even have gained the opportunity to attempt it. Chu Feng's talent is monstrous, but he is still very young.
The others largely agreed. To cultivators who had lived for hundreds of years, the several years since Chu Feng's departure were scarcely more than a brief season. At his former level, reaching the peak of the martial king realm in such a short span would already be considered miraculous. Crossing the enormous gulf into the martial emperor realm seemed almost impossible. There was another reason for their conclusion. Chu Feng himself had said that if Huangfu Haoyue successfully broke through, Chu Feng would no longer be his match. To everyone present, those words seemed like undeniable proof that Chu Feng remained within the martial king realm. The irony was almost cruel. These people understood that Chu Feng was exceptional, but their understanding of cultivation still obeyed ordinary logic. They measured his progress using the standards of geniuses they knew, while Chu Feng's true growth had long since escaped those standards entirely. His own earlier statement had unintentionally become the perfect veil, concealing his present strength.
That is precisely why he should enter the Immortalization Road. Perhaps he will obtain an opportunity inside. His cultivation might even rise further. We should allow him to go.
That is true.
At last, the tension among the group eased slightly. The depths of the Immortalization Road were perilous, but tremendous power and opportunity also existed within. Knowing Chu Feng's astonishing comprehension ability, they began to believe he might truly emerge with a valuable harvest. Then an explosion thundered across the distant sky. A dazzling blaze erupted upward, illuminating the heavens. Almost simultaneously, an enormous oppressive might swept across Misty Peak, like an invisible tidal wave. Everyone froze for an instant. Never before had they felt pressure of this nature. But rather than fear, joy rapidly spread across their faces. One after another, they shot into the air and raced toward the blazing light. Gradually, the flames faded, the crushing pressure receded, and standing where that extraordinary phenomenon had appeared was a single man, Huangfu Haoyue. Qishui Fuyan's composure immediately vanished beneath overwhelming happiness.
Hey, you succeeded.
As men, this is Emperor-level martial power. I have successfully broken through to the martial Emperor realm.
For everyone gathered there, those words should have been cause for pure celebration. Yet Huangfu Haoyue hesitated, and the trace of uncertainty on his face immediately drew their attention.
But
What's wrong?
I can sense Emperor-level martial power now. However, the amount I can actually use is extremely limited. I constantly feel that the most concentrated and pure portion of that power remains beyond my grasp. In other words, although I can wield Emperor-level martial power, I cannot truly use its complete power.
You have only just broken through. You are merely a rank 1 martial emperor. It is perfectly normal that you cannot completely grasp emperor-level martial power yet.
Huangfu Haoyue's difficulty showed that entering the martial emperor realm was not merely a change of title. A cultivator had to adapt to an entirely higher quality of martial power. Possessing access to emperor-level energy and mastering its deepest essence were two different matters, and Huangfu Haoyue had only just crossed the threshold.
Exactly. What matters most is that you have become a martial emperor. Now, we no longer need to fear those Blood Qilins.
The moment the Blood Qilins were mentioned, joy gave way to cold hostility. Hatred surfaced on face after face. For some time, that faction had pressed them relentlessly, and now that Huangfu Haoyue had stepped into the martial emperor realm, many could scarcely wait to answer that arrogance with force. But Chu Feng suddenly frowned. His gaze shifted toward Zhu Ziyu, standing beside him.
Everyone, although Huangfu Haoyue has become a martial emperor, we still cannot underestimate the Blood Qilins. Earlier, I went to the everlasting sea of blood to investigate them. There, I sensed an extremely frightening oppressive might. At the time, I could not determine exactly what it was, but after feeling the pressure Huangfu Haoyue released today, I am certain. The Blood Qilins clan chief has also broken through to the martial emperor realm. The oppressive might I sensed from him was exactly the same kind as Huangfu Haoyue's.
The revelation struck the group like cold steel.
What their clan chief has also become a martial emperor. No wonder the Blood Qilins have become so arrogant. Yesterday, they sent us a letter demanding that we immediately abandon Misty Peak. Otherwise, they threaten to march here with their army and kill every one of us.
Until now, Qishui Fuyan had regarded that letter as little more than the boastful threat of an excessively arrogant enemy. But Zhu Ziyu's discovery changed everything. The timing of her return, the terrifying pressure she had sensed, and the arrival of the letter all fit together too perfectly. The Blood Qilins had most likely sent their ultimatum only after their clan chief successfully entered the martial emperor realm. Seen in that light, the message was never merely a warning. It was a written challenge, backed by newly acquired martial emperor strength. The Blood Qilins were not bluffing. They believed the balance of power had finally tilted in their favor.
What is there to fear? Haoyue has become a martial emperor as well. Even if their clan chief has reached the same realm, at most, he possesses the same cultivation as Haoyue. If they wish to come, then let them come. This is the perfect opportunity to settle our grudges once and for all. I will give the order for the crippling night demon sect's army to gather here.
His response exposed the new reality immediately. The appearance of a martial emperor on each side had transformed the coming conflict. Ordinary experts and armies still matter, but the true center of the battlefield would now be the clash between those standing at the emperor level. One victor at that height could overturn the morale and survival of an entire faction.
That's right. We not only have senior Huangfu Haoyue, who is now a martial emperor. Junior brother Chu Feng is here too. Back then, junior brother Chu Feng could defeat even experts who came from the holy land of martialism. Why would he fear a group of fish that overestimate themselves?
Xianxia spoke with unconcealed pride, even though everyone around her believed Chu Feng had not yet entered the martial emperor realm. Her faith in him remained absolute. And that confidence may have been more justified than anyone there realized. While Misty Peak prepared itself for a confrontation between two newly risen martial emperors, the man they still imagined to be a martial king had already stepped alone into the ancient Immortalization Road. The greatest hidden variable in the coming storm was not Huangfu Haoyue, nor the Blood Qilins clan chief. It was Chu Feng, the one person whose true strength none of them had correctly measured. Chapter 2074, Keep Chu Feng in the Dark. On the Misty Peak, one piece of news struck Huangfu Haoyue harder than any heavenly tribulation. Chu Feng had returned.
Chunwu, what did you just say? Chu Feng has returned?
Huangfu Haoyue's expression changed completely. Excitement overwhelmed his usual composure, and he seized Chunwu, as though afraid he had misheard those precious words.
Haoyue, I nearly forgot to tell you. Chu Feng truly has returned. He arrived today.
The confirmation made Huangfu Haoyue's face brighten. The joy in his eyes was even greater than when he had finally broken through the barrier of cultivation and stepped into the martial emperor realm.
That's wonderful. Where is Chu Feng? You'll go see him immediately.
Little friend, Chu Feng learned what happened to Ya Fei and the others. He has already entered the Immortalization Road to search for clues about them.
At once, the joy on Huangfu Haoyue's face froze. The warmth vanished, replaced by a shadow of concern.
That is understandable. But if it is confirmed that Ya Fei and the others are truly no longer in this world, little friend Chu Feng will undoubtedly suffer greatly.
Silence spread through the gathering. Everyone present understood that Chu Feng's bond with those three women was extraordinary, and they could all sense the guilt he carried toward them. For Chu Feng, entering the Immortalization Road was not merely an investigation. It was a journey toward an answer he desperately needed, even if that answer might wound him more deeply than any blade. Qiu Kenfeng broke the oppressive silence. The banquet prepared to welcome Chu Feng had not yet been cleared away, and now Huangfu Haoyue had successfully entered the martial emperor realm as well.
Haoyue, the timing is perfect. The banquet prepared for Chu Feng is still here. Let us replenish it and celebrate your breakthrough to martial emperor as well.
The others quickly agreed. To them, this day had delivered two great joys. Chu Feng had returned, and Huangfu Haoyue had ascended to martial emperor. Under ordinary circumstances, refusing wine on such a day would have been almost unforgivable. Yet Lady Pio Miao's expression remained solemn. Happiness could not erase the danger hanging above the Misty Peak.
Everyone, Haoyue has only just broken through. His cultivation has risen tremendously, but if Zhu Ziyu's information is correct, the Blood Qilins clan chief has also entered the martial emperor realm. They could arrive at the Misty Peak at any moment. If all of us were drunk when they attacked, the consequences would be unacceptable.
Mother is right. Haoyue has only just completed his breakthrough. He needs proper rest.
Chu Feng and the others accepted the reasoning. Celebration could wait. The Blood Qilins could not.
True. We can celebrate after we deal with the Blood Qilins.
The gathering dispersed, but not everyone departed. Chu Feng and many others remained before the entrance of the Immortalization Road, waiting in silence. They had countless things they wished to tell Chu Feng. More importantly, they worried about both his safety and the state of his heart, after discovering whatever truth lay hidden within that mysterious road. But none dared enter and disturb him. Their only choice was to stand guard and wait for his return. Huangfu Haoyue had wanted to join them, yet with so many already waiting, and with Qiushui Fuyan repeatedly urging him to rest after his breakthrough, he finally returned with her to their residence. There, away from the eyes of the Misty Peak, Qiushui Fuyan finally allowed the burden of leadership to fall from her shoulders. She leaned against Huangfu Haoyue, no longer speaking as the master of the Misty Peak, but simply as a wife afraid for her husband.
Haoyue, even though you've become a martial emperor, I'm still worried about you fighting the Blood Qilins clan chief.
Huangfu Haoyue did not give her false reassurance. He knew too well what kind of enemy waited beyond the Misty Peak.
Truthfully, if the Blood Qilins clan chief has also broken through to martial emperor, I cannot guarantee victory. When I fought him before, I could not gain the upper hand. But matters have reached this point. There is no other road left for us. We must fight with our backs against the river.
That admission revealed the true balance of power. Becoming a martial emperor had elevated Huangfu Haoyue beyond his former limits, yet it had not erased the threat. If the Blood Qilins clan chief had made the same breakthrough, their previous stalemate could simply continue on a far more terrifying level, where a single exchange might decide the fate of the entire Misty Peak. Qiushui Fuyan immediately thought of the one person whose presence might overturn that balance.
Then why don't we call Chu Feng out? His talent has always been extraordinary, and he returned safely from the holy land of martialism. He might already be a martial emperor himself. If the two of you joined forces, then no matter how powerful the Blood Qilins clan chief has become, he should not be able to defeat both of you.
Huangfu Haoyue remained silent for a moment. Then he rejected the idea, not because he doubted Chu Feng, but because he cared too much about what involving Chu Feng might mean.
Fuyan, you said it yourself. Chu Feng might be a martial emperor, but he might not be. If he is, that would naturally be wonderful. But if he isn't, then we would be dragging him into a battle that originally had nothing to do with him.
But Chu Feng is no outsider.
Exactly. Chu Feng treats us as family. And that is precisely why we should not involve him. If he learns about the Blood Qilins, he will never stand aside. He will fight beside us.
Then Huangfu Haoyue's expression turned even more grave.
But you know Chu Feng's true identity. His background is extraordinary. If something truly happened to him and his father learned of it, none of us could escape responsibility.
Qiushui Fuyan saw through the surface of those words.
If something happened to Chu Feng, that would mean the Blood Qilins had already defeated us. By then, we would probably be dead ourselves. What responsibility would there still be to fear? I know the truth. You simply don't want Chu Feng involved, because you're worried about him, aren't you?
Huangfu Haoyue finally nodded.
Chu Feng has already done enough for us. Back then, when we defeated the Immortal Execution Archipelago and became the overlords of the Eastern Sea region, Chu Feng's contribution was indispensable. And now he has only just returned. If he immediately discovers that our position as overlords is already on the verge of collapse, what would he think of us? Wouldn't that make us, his seniors, far too useless?
There it was, the pride beneath Huangfu Haoyue's concern. This was not empty arrogance. Chu Feng had already fought too many battles for the Eastern Sea region. As one of his seniors, and now the strongest expert in this land, Huangfu Haoyue believed this burden should finally rest on his own shoulders. Asking the younger generation to save them again, immediately after Chu Feng's return, was something his heart could not accept.
Haoyue, I understand.
Only then did Qiushui Fuyan fully understand him. Huangfu Haoyue's refusal was indeed born from worry for Chu Feng, but it also came from shame at the thought of seeking Chu Feng's help the moment he returned. This was the Eastern Sea region. Huangfu Haoyue was its strongest individual. In his eyes, protecting this land was his responsibility. Chu Feng, regardless of his terrifying talent and achievements, still belonged to the younger generation. Qiushui Fuyan's frustration soon turned toward the enemy responsible for forcing them into such a desperate situation.
It's all because of those damned Blood Qilins. Where exactly did they obtain that treasure in only a few short years? Their strength has risen to such an astonishing degree. Even with the Misty Peak and the crippling night demon sect joining forces, we still cannot eliminate them.
Their treasure is extraordinarily powerful. That is exactly why we cannot allow this matter to drag on. If we continue waiting, sooner or later their strength will surpass ours completely.
The Blood Qilins' greatest danger was therefore not merely their current strength, but their rate of growth. Whatever treasure they had obtained was changing the power structure of the Eastern Sea region with frightening speed. Every day of delay favored them. Qiushui Fuyan looked increasingly troubled. There was another problem neither of them could ignore.
Judging by the time, if the Blood Qilins truly intend to attack the Misty Peak, they should arrive very soon. Even if we want to conceal this from Chu Feng, we may not be able to.
Huangfu Haoyue knew she was right. Once armies surrounded the mountain and killing intent filled the heavens, there would be no simple way to pretend nothing was happening.
Indeed. Soon, the Misty Peak will become a battlefield.
Then Huangfu Haoyue grasped Qiushui Fuyan by the arms. His expression became so serious that every trace of the earlier reunion joy disappeared.
Fuyan, there is something I need you to do. After Chu Feng emerges from the Immortalization Road, no matter what excuse you must use, take him away from this place. We can die. Chu Feng absolutely cannot.
Those words transformed Huangfu Haoyue's intention into a decision. He was no longer merely trying to keep Chu Feng uninvolved. He was preparing for the possibility that everyone on the Misty Peak might die, while ensuring Chu Feng survived. In his mind, protecting Chu Feng had become more important than preserving their own lives.
But
Moisture gathered in Qiushui Fuyan's eye. A great battle was approaching, perhaps a battle from which none of her loved ones would return. How could she willingly leave while her husband, her family, and her companions remained behind to gamble their lives? But before she could answer, hurried footsteps and a terrified voice shattered the heavy silence inside the residence.
My lord! Exclamation, milady! Exclamation. The situation is terrible.
Huangfu Haoyue and Qiushui Fuyan immediately turned toward the voice.
Blood Qilins have appeared! Exclamation. They have surrounded the Misty Peak from every direction. We cannot determine their exact numbers, but there are far too many.
The elder's voice faltered. Whatever he had witnessed outside had clearly shaken even a veteran of the Misty Peak.
We fear that the Blood Qilins' entire army has come to attack us.
The enemy had arrived. Not tomorrow. Not after Huangfu Haoyue had rested. Not after Chu Feng returned from the Immortalization Road. The Blood Qilins had chosen this very moment to encircle the Misty Peak. And now Huangfu Haoyue's plan faced its greatest test. Chu Feng was still inside the Immortalization Road, unaware that an army had surrounded the mountain. Huangfu Haoyue wanted to protect him by keeping him in the dark, but with the Misty Peak about to become a battlefield, how long could that secret possibly survive?